See, so it's Black History Month, and I've got to, like I said, bring you some negritude. So my granduncle was the first Black Unitarian minister, Egbert Ethelred Brown. He's my relative via marriage. I got Browns on the Bailey side and Browns on the Gordon side. See, my mother's Helen Gordon. My father's Joseph Bailey, so I'm Gordon Bailey. And if you ever watch Cotton Comes to Harlem, that movie, you might see when they pass the Apollo Theater, my parents' law office is next to the Apollo. I think you can see Bailey and Gordon, attorneys at law, as they scan the street. Nevertheless, Egbert Ethelred Brown was a Trinitarian, a Christian that read the scriptures, and much like Origen, and much like our Jewish friends, much like our Muslim friends, figured that God is one. I'm not sure of that one. I think God is a multiplicity. I don't know. How can I limit God or spirit? Spirit manifests any way spirit wants to. But I get the idea behind it. So Egbert came to the United States, even though the Unitarians said, no, we've got no Black congregations. Black people can't even understand our lofty intellectual pursuits of religiosity. My granduncle came, he went to their seminary in Meadville, Pennsylvania, and goes back to Jamaica and founds the Unitarian Church of Jamaica in 1912, the first Black Unitarian minister. The Universalists were better. A man named Joseph Jordan, who was a Baptist minister down in Suffolk, Virginia, near Hampton Roads, near Jamestown, near the founding of what becomes the peculiar institution of slavery in the United States in 1619. Those first Africans landed on these shores. My first relatives landed in 1639, my white relatives. My Bailey family's been in Virginia and these here parts of this country for a long time. But they owned slaves by 1659, and they sired babies with those slave women. But out of the bad comes me. See, I couldn't exist without the confluence of Europe and Africa. And somewhere along the way, Native Americans got in the mix, so I'm a triracial, Black, white, and Indian. All right? There are many of us. MLK, triracial. Jesse Jackson, triracial. Mariah Carey, triracial. Derek Jeter. Who's who? Frederick Bailey. His name is Bailey, not Douglas. He runs away from the Bailey plantation and takes the name Douglas as he escapes. So I'm like, what's that movie with the guy that the box of chocolates? I'm like Forrest Gump. I'm in every historical reality of the American narrative, right? Unfortunately, the good, the bad, and everything in between. So this Black thing that I wanted to bring to you today and leave you with, because there was this notion, Mike, that you gave me about overcoming, somehow leave the people with a narrative which is like, we shall overcome, or I persevered, or we as a people are going to get to the promised land. See, we're already on our way. We're stepping into the light. Our consciousness is raising. We've elected a Barack Obama. We should have elected a woman president. I'm sorry to be political. I'm not advocating for anything, but women are 52% of the voting population, if not more. Right? The nation is going the right way. I believe our world is going the right way. The United Nations, if you've never been there, listen to what they say. There are things being talked about and discussed that are lifting human realities. So I'll leave you with this, and I show you a picture, because I think Mike said that might be a interesting thing. My father, Joseph Bailey, born on a plantation in Point Coupé, Louisiana, Point Coupé Parish, outside of Baton Rouge, about 50 miles from New Orleans. My dad was born in an old farmhouse where his ancestors had been slaves, cut sugar cane, picked cotton. His father happened to be the slave master's grandson, the owner of the plantation. My grandfather married a black woman, a white man married a black woman. They had 14 children. My dad was born in 1905. He didn't go to school till he was 10 years old when they moved to New Orleans. Why they left the farm, the white relatives couldn't stomach the fact that this black-white union. So, what'd they say? Put everybody in the bus, and there was no bus. Horse and buggy from Point Capet to New Orleans. My dad met Louis Armstrong. They were dear friends of one another. But more important than that, my dad got a bachelor's degree from Lincoln University, one of the oldest black colleges. He gets a law degree from Columbia University in New York City, and he gets a PhD from the New School in New York City. No financial aid, no support, just the will, spirit manifesting in a man who was born on a plantation where they picked cotton and cut sugar cane. He ran for Congress 3 times, lost, but he ran. He was engaged. He raised his children. My sister's a professor. My brother was a federal attorney for 35 years. I've got multiple degrees. I'm a counselor. I'm a teacher. I'm a preacher. And preacher man here to tell you, there ain't nothing, and I mean nothing, no sadness, no downcast, no injury that can prevent you from succeeding in this here life. If you would just find it within yourself to take the negativity and turn it around. Harry Belafonte, he was our neighbor. We knew him well. See, I get to be part of Who's Who from Harlem. Langston Hughes was my father's roommate at Lincoln University. Thurgood Marshall lived around the corner from us. Duke Ellington lived up the block from us. I'm from Harlem Heights, baby. I'm from Negritude Heaven. And that, I cleaned that up because they used to call it something else. And look here, I'm a brown-skinned man like our speaker today, but I turned white. Everybody say, why you turn white, man? I say, you know what? Because this way I gain access into white spaces, because when I cut my little baby fro down, some white folks don't know. I don't know why they don't know. Because my voice tells you I'm a black man, and too many white men got a voice like mine. But the reality is, out of my loss of melanin, I've gained access to more white communities. Out of my parents, my mother was a lawyer too, we'll talk about her another time. Out of my potentiality from those parents that I had, the great things they gave us access to, I've been able to serve 12 congregations across this continent over almost 30 years. I preach, I teach, I love. This is the sign for love. You know some ASL? This is the sign for love, right? So love for you all, love for the whole world, love for everyone. Enough said? Amen, people.